Sorry, I just started the recording. Unfortunately, it's 10 after. I apologize, but I will send out the slide deck so you'll get it in. You haven't missed a whole lot. We're just talking about expected change, transitions, and this is the second slide where we're talking about planned or expected change. So we're getting some feedback from some of our participants. So Katrina, thank you for going first.
Okay, my transition was my son transferred colleges and he's in a different state. And yes, it took a lot of planning and so far it's going well.
Okay, very good. So son going to another state and to college.
And to play football.
Okay. Very good. So that's a lot of change.
Yes.
All right. Who else was going to share?
I can share. I'm Michelle. Can you hear me?
I can, Michelle. Thanks.
Oh, hi. Yeah, we moved from Denver, Colorado. We're up in the Rocky Mountains to Knoxville, Tennessee, about a month ago, and just my husband and I, and bought a house here in Knoxville, and it's an extraordinary change in every way. We were at 10,000 feet and now it's flat. There's bugs everywhere. It's boiling hot, and there's no Rocky Mountains, and I don't know anybody here. And so it's a pretty big change from where we've been.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So yeah, move, especially when it's that different, is a big change. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Michelle, and anybody else? One more.
I'll share, Michael, and
Thanks, Deb.
the rest of the group. I'm Deb, and I think it was in December, my mom moved in with us. And so that's been a big change and big transition for us. And prior to that, we had also moved. We had to move because of a landlord selling a house. And so we shifted and moved. And then shortly after that, she joined us. So it's been an interesting and rewarding time as well, but lots of changes.
Yeah. Okay. So great examples. Yeah, great examples. And no problem there, Gary. Yeah, it's okay. So we're going to just jump and move along. So for the sake of time, so unexpected. So that's expected change. Unexpected is when you don't know change is coming and have no time to really plan or prepare for it. So obviously, so we're going to walk through this pretty quickly, but something that I've seen, and maybe you all have, is the pandemic has had an anxiety-inducing effect on people since there are so many unknowns. I think initially it all hit us with, oh, wow, hopefully this won't last too long, then starting to realize, wow, this is going to last a lot longer than we thought. All the different changes as far as the different restrictions and other things, that have come, and then started to feel like, oh, last May, June, maybe we've turned a corner. Things are starting to get freeing up again, and then having sort of this second wave. So all that to say, there's a lot of unknowns with the pandemic, right? So that's a real clear example. Something that I wanted to share is this idea of agility. And so talks about agility is the ability to function and compete within a state of dynamic, continuous, and often unanticipated change. So one of the things within life, so we have to, it creates this sense of having to develop this idea of agility, to be able to function and compete within often unanticipated change, but this dynamic state. And it's a skill that we can grow in this skill of agility. But it's something we have to be intentional about, something we have to try to master. And so we, in this environment, it's 21st century, and it's certainly this time and place, as I said at the bottom here, in the whirlwind of life, we need something to tether us or we're going to get lost. And one of the key skills that we can develop is this idea of having an agile mind, an agile mindset, an agile approach where we're able to be dynamic, where we're able to adapt. Adapting and being dynamic are pretty huge parts of this process. So we'll continue to focus on emotional IQ. So in order to stay tethered, you have to have a plan to manage your emotions, because that's where a lot of the things end up coming in and hitting us, is our emotions. And that's what end up getting us. So let's talk about that. And there's going to be 5 points to this. Awareness first. What am I feeling? So whether it's a change or expected or an unexpected change or transition, what am I feeling? Then oftentimes we have to quiet our brains. Sometimes the self-talk and the interpretation of what's going on can really overwhelm us. And I deal a lot and talk a lot about this idea of mindset, but we have to be aware of what's going on. What am I feeling? What's my brain doing? And learn to quiet that. So it's the agility is one aspect, managing self-talk is another. And sometimes you might just have to step away if you need to and get some fresh air, move, take a walk, do something to help get out of your head, so to speak. And that's often a term, I got to get out of my head. So that's a big one. So this is part of that. So self-care, give yourself some space to grieve or celebrate, depending on the event and the thing that's gone on in your life. You may need to give yourself time to process those feelings, and that's great. You should do that. Or celebrate them. So again, not every change is a negative thing. There's plenty of good things going on in the world, but you need to practice good self-care. Set expectations. What am I expecting? We often get what we expect. So if I'm thinking, oh, some bad thing's going to happen, oh, this negative thing, that's what often ends up coming because our focus is set on a certain way. And so we have to be aware of that and then focus our brain. So we want to shift away from what's the problem towards what's the solution. We want to become solution focused people, which will help to move us forward, which will help us stay tethered to what's our purpose, what's our mission. God is with me, he's for me, and I can do this. And it's possible, even in the midst of all the change that might be going on, to still make progress and move forward. So I'd like to ask for a reader here. Hopefully you all can see this. Would somebody be willing to read this for us? So who would be a volunteer?
I can do that.
Thanks.
What's your perspective? I'm a failure, so don't try to tell me there's so much potential inside me, because at the end of the day, I'll never find a job. I need more experience. I've been out of work too long, and don't try to convince me that there is real value inside of me, because deep down I know I am useless and unemployable, and nothing you say will make me believe I will make it in this world. Oh, hi, Daniel. Do you want me to read it from the bottom up now?
Please.
Okay. I will make it in this world, and nothing you say will make me believe I am useless and unemployable, because deep down I know there is real value inside of me. And don't try to convince me that I've been out of work too long. I need more experience. I'll never find a job, because at the end of the day, there's so much potential inside me. So don't try to tell me I'm a failure. Wow.
Amazing, isn't it? The perspective.
That's great.
Yeah, it's how are you viewing things? What's your perspective? And as you think about your situation, you think about change, you think about transitions, how are you viewing those? And put whatever situation's going on in your world in there, and that'll be that's powerful, isn't it? So All right. So one of the things that I've done, so just tying this back to here, awareness, what I'm feeling, watch my self-talk, make sure I'm practicing self-care. What am I expecting? Make sure that the expectations are for good. Surely goodness and mercy are following you. That's what God says. And solution focus in your life. So one of the things I put together, of course, part of this community way back in March of 2020 when the pandemic first started out. And even before then, January 2020, God sort of gave me this idea about this life IQ living, is spiritual self-care, mindset or emotional self-care, which we've really been talking about today, physical self-care and relational self-care. So one of the things that I use is this tracker, and we talk about, again, how to stay tethered, right? So in order to live each moment, this is what it says here, each of us have to have a strong foundation by intentionally tending to self-care, body, mindset, spirit, relationships. How we show up wherever we are in life impacts how fully we live each experience of life. Focus and attentiveness prevent drifting. So again, going back to the premise, how do we stay tethered? How do we keep moving forward? How do we pursue a life mission and purpose in the whirlwind of life? It's by having these kinds of strong, intentional disciplines and self-care in our lives. We don't get to choose where we're at on the river of life, but we do get to choose how we show up. And so these practices that we've been talking about and using something like this tracker or whatever you use will help you to do that. All right. So we are at the end of our time together. I want to ask you for tracking this, and I'm going to talk about a class that I'm doing called Coaching in the Brain, but as you think about tracking this and these things for you, I'd love to hear, what are you using or what are you finding is helping you stay tethered in this season? So again, why don't we get a few of you to give some feedback? What are you using or what are you finding is helping you with dealing with the changes, the transitions in this season of life?
Well, I'll go. This is Michelle.
Thanks.
I do a lot of self-talk work. So I have specific Bible verses, images. I've created them into PowerPoints and into decks so that I review it. It only takes 3 minutes to go through my self-talk statements and the images that go with them. Because the issue for me is identity, remembering who I am in Jesus's eyes and who I am in my professional life, and repeating those and looking at those on a regular basis. If I can keep my identity strong, then I can move from there.
That's great. Yeah, and that visuals as well. That's terrific, Michelle. Good for you.
Yeah, big difference. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Who else? What are you using? And maybe you've used this, and if you have, I'd love to hear if it's helped you or not. I know that it's been around for a little while.
This is Fran. I finally got on.
Hey, Fran.
Yeah, I love Michelle, so I'm going to do that. That's wonderful. And what I do is I just make sure every morning I have some time to listen to praise and worship music. And then if I'm pressed on time or not, I'll take, even if it's one verse out of the Bible, and hold on to that, write it down. And I just kind of hold on to that all day and say, okay, Lord, how do you want me to display your glory using this scripture today? And
Very good.
yeah, sometimes I'm paying attention and sometimes I forget, but it gets me started on the right track.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah, and I've shared before too about having like prayers at the beginning, middle, end of day as I'm working, how to start And then at noon, as I take a break after this, I'm going to take a break. Just thank God, for the morning, for all that I've been able to accomplish. Thank you that even though I'm resting, you're working. And, just again, being able to step away and just be in a good space.
Michael, that's another reminder, the pause from, I forget his name.
John Eldridge. Yep.
John Eldridge, his pause. That is a wonderful thing to have on my phone.
Yes, yes, yes. All right, one more. Got time for one more. What are you doing to stay tethered?
Katrina, I am going to the beach a lot to stay
good.
tethered.
Well, you
Yeah,
look like you're on the river of life there.
yeah.
The background.
I love the water, and it just reminds me of the limitless of God, and that He is greater than anything that we're going through during this time, and then traveling a bit.
Very good. Yeah, excellent. Well, very good. Thanks for sharing. So just quickly, just share about upcoming opportunities. So I think most of you probably have heard about this class. I know some of you have taken a Coaching in the Brain. The class actually starts on Monday. It's an 8-week class. If this is something that you're interested in, so we talked a little bit about mindset and thinking. This class goes into that a whole lot more. Love to have you join. Offering a discount if you join by the end of the day tomorrow of $199. That's almost $100 off the regular price. And you can find more about it at my website, crosswayslifecoaching.com, Rain Coaching. And then as far as our next Life IQ Living community, that's going to be the last Tuesday. It's always the last Tuesday of the month, 12 noon Eastern. And what I want to talk about then is we're going to talk about finishing 2021 well and getting ready for 2022. So it'll be more about how to finish this year out well and then getting ready for what 2022 holds, because we get to choose these things. We can decide how are we going to finish, how are we going to prepare for the next year that's coming, even when we don't know everything that's coming. Like, who knows what's going to definitely come, but we can do some things that can prepare us and be ready for that. All right, so wrap up. So what are you taking away? I'd love to hear just again, real quick, what are you taking away from today? So Judy, would you mind starting us off?
Sure. I think today was mostly just a real encouraging time, because as you're talking about, the planned, especially the planned changes, for me, going into, in the Seattle area, you go into that dark, rainy, it's raining and just starting now. And I know that I kind of go under in that season. And this year has been different in that I am taking steps to plan. What am I going to do? How am I going to, prepare the best I can to go through the season? And just as a fun fact, I was being coached over this, and one of the questions was, okay, now what are you going to do mentally? And I was thinking, it's like, oh, I'm taking your class.
There you go. Yes.
I thought
yes,
that's going to keep me, thinking and going in that place. So.
Yep. And you have a fellow Pacific Northwesterner there, and Deb Kalmbach. So.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. Who else? What are you doing as far as a takeaway? Fran?
Yeah, and just to give Judy an idea, this is something I did to get through the cold winter that I don't like. I took a video of my backyard, several of them, during the summer. So I'll look at those in the winter to keep me remembering that spring does arrive. My takeaway was keeping that mind agile, keeping very aware of what you're thinking, what you're saying. And yeah, just keeping that agile mind.
Yes. Yeah, what we say to ourselves is huge. And one more, who wants to finish? What do you take?
This is Kathy, and this was good. I liked the 5, being aware and your perspective change and mindset. Just a good bullet point with that. And then the perspective poem was so good.
That
That's
was
a
Very
great
good.
thing to use. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for this, Michael.
You are welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, I love
you.
having this community. It's a great way to connect and just talk about life and talk about how to walk, to live out our purpose and intention. So as I said, we will have another Life IQ community meeting at the end of October. If you feel free to share. You know, these are all complimentary. We'll be sending out the recording and the link and the PDF file afterwards. And that little template that I showed is already on the Life IQ Living page. All right, everybody. Lord bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.